Hello, Daphne here. Welcome back to my channel, WOFOW, Woman of Faith on Wheels. Today, I am going to be giving you my full-time RV life update part number 2. I'm going to explain how I'm feeling about my choice, how I am adjusting, what adjustments I'm making, how I am learning new things, the pros and the challenges of this lifestyle. So I will dig right in. Right now, I can honestly say I am loving this lifestyle. And today, I am ecstatic that I can bring this to you sitting outside in nature where I find my greatest peace at times. I could not do this while I was in Texas because the dust was crazy where I was at. So much so that once I left Texas and I got into Maumelle, Arkansas, where I stayed for a few days, I washed down all the walls, the ceiling, everything in my camper just to get rid of the dust. But now here I am. I am content with my choice that I have made. I am experiencing greater peace, greater solitude, much more time with God, a contentment in ways I didn't imagine I would find. And I am still working diligently to lead a more mindful, intentional life that promotes good stewardship of all the wonderful things that God has blessed us with on this earth. First, I'm going to dig into peace. The amount of peace God is providing me with, not only sitting out here in nature and walking the trails, but as I'm digging in deeper with the extra solitude that I have, I share that with God. And He is just opening my eyes to so many things. And I find, being that I have the solitude, things are quieter. I don't find myself trying to shut myself up in a room so that I can focus on God. I can sit outside or I can be in my camper and I can focus on God. I have ample time to do both my devotion, my Bible readings, and I'm actually working on reading a book called Practicing the Way. Now, I've read the Bible going on 4 times now, but I'm following a different study course in the YouVersion app called the Bible Recap. Tara Lee Cobble hosts that. She's written it. She is very good at recapping the Bible for anyone who may have comprehension problems or is reading stuff that they do not understand in the Bible. She does a good job of dissecting what's going on, explaining things, and then points out every day a loving characteristic of God and how He's always trying to reach out to us, is always there for us, loving us with compassion and understanding. So if you're looking for a good plan to follow on the YouVersion app, I urge you try Bible Recap. Contentment, I think, is also coming from a lot of the extra time that I do have to spend with God. After all, spiritual growth comes from solitude. Even Jesus spent time going away regularly to pray in a quiet place and be with His Father. So some of my contentment is coming from the fact that I am growing spiritually. And some of my contentment is coming from the fact that I now, being single and not in a relationship with anyone but God, am better able to accept myself than I ever have been. I have spent my life comparing myself to other people, which society seems to really promote in various ways. I no longer feel I have to look better than anybody else to keep anyone satisfied. I don't have to worry about feeling like I'm too fluffy, I'm too much, I'm too loud, I'm too bossy, I'm too anything, because as I am growing spiritually, God is softening the rough edges, and God is teaching me to be content with myself because He loves me as I am. As far as leading a more intentional and mindful life, I am still very happy with how I am handling my water situation. Excuse me. I'm still not using even 4 gallons a day for the most part. I believe I will continue on this path of just packing water into my camper because that is an intentional way to make me mindful of how much I'm using rather than when I was in a house and all I had to do was turn a faucet. I use maybe a cup of water to brush my teeth. I still am not using a full 2 gallons in flushing my toilet. I might use 6 cups to wash dishes and 5 cups to rinse dishes. So I feel I am doing well there. I know growing up while I was in high school, I was doing a paper on water conservation at one time, and it spoke of turning the water off while you're brushing your teeth, conserving resources, yada, yada, yada. And I have to admit, as a young person, I didn't really take that seriously, but as I have grown up, I've really started to notice when I compare, especially when I compare pictures from, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years ago of creeks and rivers, how much they are diminishing. So the stewardship issue and living a mindful life is very, very important to me. As far as the electric goes, while I was in Texas, I ended up only using 104 kilowatts for the 30 days that I had electric usage in my name. When you divide that up by 30 days, that's 3.5 kilowatts a day. I feel like that was a great accomplishment on my part. And then that only left me with a $71.40 bill, of which $25 of that was a connection fee, which is astounding that they charge you $25 to push a button nowadays, but it is what it is. So my electric bill itself was $46.40. I feel very good about that. I only ran the AC unit maybe about 3 times. I would watch TV at night. So I was pretty mindful of what I was doing. And that is going to be a plus because in some future work camping jobs, there may be places where they expect you to pay your own electricity. And I know that right now I can be pretty frugal about how I use my power, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to conserve energy. There is less food waste. I am mindful of what I purchase, why I purchase it, how long I'm going to be needing to use it, and excuse me, and the fact that I do not want too much food in my refrigerator before I am traveling from place to place. So I may have thrown out 1 bell pepper and half an onion in the past almost 2 months. I have also come up with a pretty good settle in system. When I am going to be at a place for a few days, I will get things set up on the outside and get settled in a little bit on the inside. And then the next day, I will spend sprucing things up, cleaning things up, getting my groceries, just like I did this week because I knew I'd be here for a few days, preparing myself for spending some time here. And then I would usually like take a day of rest. But this week, I did the sprucing up, and then the following day, instead of resting, Cooper and I took off to the Shawnee National Forest, where we wore ourselves out. So I spent the day yesterday resting. I didn't do my day of rest prior. The pros to this lifestyle that I am seeing so far are the traveling. I am going places where I didn't think I would ever go, or probably didn't even really dream of going. So I'm getting to experience different scenery, habitats, environments, and I love that. And most of the places where I am going, there are trails to walk that would be for free now in Texas. Texas, I was in a resort park, so there were no trails there. I did pay to get into the state park to walk their trails, which were very easy. There wasn't anything moderate there, so it was all easy walking. But most places when I stay at state parks already offer trails, so that doesn't cost me anything. The other day, going to Shawnee National Forest only cost us gas money, so that isn't that bad. It was an hour away, so it probably cost about what it would have cost to get into a state park. But in most places, I've been staying in state parks because they are the more economical choice. They offer decent sized camp spaces for a decent price. Most of them are electric and water, just like what I have here, and I'm only paying $18 a night. I'm not going to complain about that. Now, I said that there were pros, but I'm not going to talk about cons because I refuse to continue to allow negativity to be in my life. So I am just going to call what I am focusing on next as challenges. There have been different dangers and annoyances and challenges in the different states. For instance, Texas, the dust was annoying. The fire ants were definitely a challenge. Um, I think I either got into chiggers or sand fleas down there. Most would probably say chiggers because whatever it was, it's not in my blankets. And if it were fleas, they would die once they bit Cooper. But I'm having a serious reflection of that. I think it may have been chiggers, and they were practically eating me alive. I had bites all the way up past my knees. So much so that I was rubbing petroleum jelly vapor rub on my legs to help ease the itching. But let me tell you, the petroleum jelly vapor rub, they said helps keep bugs away. You cannot trust it to keep ticks off of you because when I got to Piney Park, Texas, where Cooper and I walked some trails, when I came off that trail, I had a tick attached to my leg. So don't trust vapor rub to keep ticks off of you. I have found something else because I have been dealing with ticks since Piney Point up. Permethrin. I did some serious research the other morning because I woke up at 2:30 in the morning with this crazy itch in an unmentionable place. So I got up because I thought that was weird. After I scratched, I'm like, man, there's something there. So I got up and I started inspecting myself, and sure enough, I had another tick attached to me. And I started getting the heebie jeebies, and I was not happy. So I did some extra research because I knew that day Cooper and I were going to be going to the Shawnee National Forest, and I did not want to come home with anything on me. So I went, after much research, to Walmart and bought a can of permethrin, which you only spray on the outside of your clothes. So I attached my clothes to the hook out here and I sprayed all the outside of my clothes very, very thoroughly. And I can say that I honestly did not come back with one tick on me. Cooper, on the other hand, did, but I do have him on Bravecto, so they die as soon as they bite him. Well, probably within an hour of biting him. So I picked off 6 ticks off of him. So now the challenges back up here are ticks, which is still hard for me to understand because as a child, I grew up in the woods. We were surrounded by acres and acres and acres of woods. And I have never, growing up, experienced as many ticks as I have seen and experienced in like the last 6 years. Arkansas also offered my first view of a cottonmouth snake who was sunbathing in the driveway that went through the park. That taught me a very valuable lesson. I should always be looking down and not with my heads in the clouds because I am so in awe of where I'm at. I need to pay attention to where I'm at. And I am grateful that God had me look down when He did. Cold showers was another thing. That's a nice little challenge. Maumelle is a beautiful park, offers beautiful trails. Watch for the cottonmouths, but they also offer cold showers. I don't think it got up to 70 degrees the day I went to go take a shower, and it was cold. And it was a quick shower. So, I think some of the campgrounds I go to at this point, I'm going to check out the showers before I actually go shower. If I cannot have hot water in a shower, I will heat up water and empty everything I have in my shower as it is and take warm sponge baths in my shower because cold showers and Daphne do not agree. Campfire cooking is another bit of a challenge. I haven't done a whole lot of campfire cooking. Of course, there was no campfires allowed in Arkansas. There were no campfires allowed in Texas. They are all under burn bans. Apparently, about a month before I got there, they were doing prescribed burns, and some of them got away from them in Texas. So they just put a burn ban on everything. And you could get a good amount of rain, but the next day there was so much dust that it didn't even look like it did rain. So they are so short on rainfall that the ground is just sucking it up before it can really be used. So my campfire brownies, my second fire this morning was actually for my campfire brownies. I thought I had it under control, which I'm going to say there are no fails. There are only learning opportunities. I watched a couple videos and some said put them on a rack and some said put them in the coals. So I got everything ready after I had everything down to coals and I put my cast iron skillet of brownie batter in the bottom, brought all the coals up around the edge of it, and about 10 minutes later, I started to smell burnt chocolate. Now, chocolate is good just in about every fashion and form except burnt. But all didn't go to waste. It was a learning experience. I still got about half of my brownies, and I think maybe God was just telling me I didn't need that much sugar. So I learned a valuable lesson. I will do things differently next time. The other challenge is the difference in camping fees state to state. I'm floored. I may have told you earlier that I'm only paying like $18 a site for this site I'm at now. I have been checking into all the state parks in the surrounding counties where my daughter lives because I'm going to go spend a couple days seeing my daughter, and a couple other people wanted to touch base with me as well before I head on to my first work camping job. So while I'm paying $18 a night here, Indiana wants $43 a night and is not offering anymore. $43 a night is not a pull through or a premium site. It is maybe, if you're lucky, electric and maybe water. So at this point, I am facing that challenge with the fact that I am probably going to be staying with a host family for a few days while I am visiting in Indiana, and I can help them out while they help me out. And it's a win-win for everybody. If you have found anything helpful in this video, I urge you subscribe and share. I pray You have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you for coming back to my channel.